Okay, this is Jenn and Tara from Go Full Amazon, and we are recording live.
Oh boy.
From the couch.
From the couch. From the messy couch.
Jen O'Hearn's house.
I know, but we really shouldn't talk about my couch because there's been stuff on this couch.
I'm morbidly curious.
You might not want to
Maybe
know.
as the conversation progresses, we'll get into that. So we decided to name this episode, Oh, What a Mess.
Oh, what a mess.
Because we are feeling lost. I don't know about you. I've been having trouble posting on social media because I'm feeling a little bit uninspired. Kind of not following my plans.
Yeah, well, we were just talking about, let's see, I spent my day yesterday coming home from work with Twizzlers. We are currently sitting on my couch after we just had some French fries, sweet potato French fries, and drinking milkshakes.
Actually, we were just talking about getting back on plan, and while we're eating our burger and our fries and our milkshakes.
Cheers. Cheers to everybody. Milkshakes, Twizzlers. Yeah, and I actually today, I had a donut. Well, actually, no, I had a sixth of a donut, which everybody at work made fun of me because they're like, just eat the whole damn donut. And I'm like, no, I'll just have a sixth of it.
So I think sometimes people look at us or think that we don't eat crap food. Oh, we do. We have our moments where we are low and we don't feel good about ourselves, and then we crash and burn, and the difference is we get back up and we dust ourselves off and we move forward.
Yeah. I think that's where we're at, though. I think that when we talk about what the mess is that, I know for me, I don't always have the solution in the getting the back up sometimes.
Yeah. And what are some of the things you've been feeling lost with?
I mean, drinking my milkshake.
Well.
So, we're going right into it. There's no romantic quote that we're doing or anything.
No
romantic quote, but we usually start with some quote.
I have a plan. The quote's coming.
The quote's coming, okay. All right, so we're mixing up here on episode 10.
Yeah, we're going rogue.
Rogue episode 10.
While we train for fat games.
Because, Tara and I were laughing because we were sitting here going, we're always training for something and we're always do something. We actually do have a couple competitions coming up, but right now we seem like we're training for the fat games. I think that's the problem. I've been watching so much of the CrossFit games and they're all so fit. And I'm like, I'm never going to look like that. So I might as well just eat milkshakes.
Right. Well, only if we give up our day jobs and work out 6 hours a day.
I know. I wish I could.
I would like that.
I would like that. I know. I think I need to do that. But what have I been struggling with? So I've been struggling. I feel like I've been struggling with all areas of my life, to tell you the truth. Which is funny because if anybody knows me and looks on my outsides, everything's really good. And really, the reality of that fact that I'm even struggling is really a bunch of horseshit and nonsense in my own head because I have nothing to struggle really about. If the surface stuff, it doesn't look like I should have anything to struggle about. My kids are fine. My home is nice. I have a great job. I have great friends. I'm dating a great guy. All of the check boxes that make life supposedly look great and wonderful are all checked. But somehow there's this underlying what did we say? I said
uneasiness,
uneasiness, and I tied it to a loneliness thing, and I tied it to fear and a loneliness because I know for me that whenever something's going on with me, it's always fear based. It always comes down to some sort of fear, and fear isn't just this big I'm scared of the dark or I think bad things are going to happen. Fear is more of the little voice in my head that says, "You really can't do this. You really can't do it. Who the fuck do you think you are that you can really do this?" And that's that little voice sometimes beats the shit out of me.
Yeah. And so here's the point where I want to read the quote because you are really, really hard on yourself.
Oh, I know.
And so this quote is from a letter that was written to Jen's brother who passed away from cancer. And he gave a speech during his graduation, and this person in the letter is talking about how he handled himself with grace and how his family handled himself with grace. And the reason I wanted to read this is because this line about how you are with your brother in that moment, that's who you are.
Well, it set it up too. So my brother passed away when he was 17 from a really rare bone cancer. and he was a senior in high school when he got sick. And he was at boarding school in Massachusetts at a place called Tabor Academy. And so this was from a speech that he actually gave a chapel speech before his graduation when he was really, really sick.
So it says, and then I saw what really happened. I saw you pick up your sheepskin and head for the stairs. I saw your sister come up to help you down. It was at that moment that I knew you were blessed. The gesture by your sister in the midst of a standing ovation for you was so simple, so full of love, that I felt that extended hand of hers is what life on this orbiting rock is all about. So that line, like, without a doubt, I didn't even, before you even told me it was you, I knew it was you, because that's what you do in your daily life. Like, when you like, when you beat yourself up like this, it bothers me, because you're so, like, you're amazing, you're smart, you're strong, you're capable.
Yeah.
But we all do that.
We all do it.
We all have that voice inside our head that places that seed of doubt.
Yeah.
And it's okay to fail too. And I think it's okay to talk about being scared of failing, because I think we all have that. And I think if we all talked about it a little bit more, we'd probably all be a little bit more empathetic of each other. Yeah,
I think you're right. And I think that, I think I have had some emotional stuff kind of like happen, as of late, and it was interesting because, and thank you for reading that quote, because it really, it's funny because Tara actually, when you came over tonight, I had out our notebook for the podcast, our podcast notebook, and I was writing down some notes, and I was like, doing some research and stuff like that. And honestly, I opened up my book, and my mom, my brother's anniversary of his death was just recently, and my mom had copied this letter that someone had, this was sent to my mom, was given to my mom. And so she had gave copies to all of us siblings and stuff. And so I had it, and honestly, I had forgotten where I put it. And tonight I sat and opened up my booklet, and all of a sudden there's like my picture of my brother and my dad, and they were like in work clothes. And it's like that quintessential, like New England work family picture. Like, he's like, was this jacked guy. And then my dad's like, exactly the way my dad always was. He was like, when he wasn't in the hospital, he was like in, he used to call them X shirts because they were like his dress up shirts, but he'd put an X on the pocket with magic marker because then he would know he couldn't wear those to the hospital. He wasn't allowed to wear his X shirts to the hospital because he looked like he's homeless, and nobody wants your doctor to look like you're homeless.
Yeah.
So it's like that. So I open up, and there's this letter, and then these pictures, and I'm like, oh, that's where that was. And of course I'm crying as you walk in the door.
Do you feel like when you reflect back on him or looking at these pictures that it makes you feel more grounded, or maybe not so lonely?
No, it kicks up the loneliness.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And the loss.
Yeah.
And now I'm crying.
It's okay.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because I think anybody who's been through any kind of loss, and like that was a long time ago. I mean, Rob died when he was, he died it was 25 years ago. You know what I mean? And it's still there. Like, that doesn't go away. Like, I can smell like him, and I can see him, and I can like hear his voice, and like, what I mean? I see those pictures, and I'm like you don't forget that, And it was really interesting because, and then, of course, with my dad, I mean, it's a different, when you lose a brother at 17 and then you lose your dad when he's 80, like, it's a very different thing, because that's losing my dad was a natural progression in life. Like, losing my brother was not a natural progression. Like, you're not supposed to do that. And then, so, in this last week, I went to a funeral on Sunday with my friend Kim, who, crazy enough, this is a crazy story. Her mother-in-law was in the hospital. I think I told you the story, is that her mother-in-law was in the hospital, and I was assigned, I knew she was there because Kim had texted me and said she was there, so I saw her as not one of my patients, but then, of course, I took her on as one of my patients, and she was on my rotation last week, and I literally walked into her room. It was my late shift, so it's on my late shift, I don't have such time restraints with my patients. I can kind of float around a little bit more, and she was my patient. And I walked into her room and she was like, oh, Jenny, she calls me Jenny. Jenny, you're here. And she was like, she was really at the end of, she had gotten some devastating news that her cancer had come back. And, you could tell that her fight had really kind of gone. So when I walked into the room, like she was, she was frail and she was little and she was not participating with really much of what was going on around her. Like her son and her husband was in the room. And I walked in and she perked up and she wanted to go home. Like she wanted to go home and they're all like, what do we do? I'm like, well, you try to get her home because that's where she should be when she passes. And she was like, she's like, can you come home and take care of me? And I said, well, yeah, but we need you to get stronger. So you need to eat. And she hadn't eaten in a couple days and, or at least 24 hours. And I literally okay, I'm in physical therapy. Our job is to move patients and to get them moving. And literally I took this woman and I just sat there and this thing came over me where I was like, I'm just going to sit on the edge of her bed and I'm going to feed her.
Yeah.
And that's all I did. I didn't move her. Actually I did. That's true. I did some therapy with her. I got her sitting up and we did some breathing exercises, but literally I just sat there and she agreed to eat. And I was like, I'm feeding her. So I literally looked around the room, whatever was there for food. Yeah. I just sat there and I didn't even know what time, how long I was there. It didn't even matter. Cause she was like, don't you have other patients? I'm like, nope, you're my only one. And I just sat there and I fed her. And and then come to find out she passed away that next morning. So I got to spend time with her. So this was my friend Kim who sat next to me when my brother died. She was right there with that. She was there when my dad passed away. So then I got to now be with her family and return it. You know what I mean? So all of this kind of stuff happened this week. And it's powerful. That's powerful stuff.
And it's almost what are that line that I felt, that extended hand of hers, that's who you are. That's what you do. You extend your hand out to others, and you do it a lot. And I almost wonder if sometimes
I almost do it too much, and the loneliness comes from it doesn't come back to me.
Yeah, because you almost need someone to extend their hand out to you every now and then. And I think
I don't have it.
I don't think you like letting go.
I don't. And that's a hard. And that's really that's the crux of it too. And I think that you and I have talked about that enough. Yeah. There were that's a struggle for most of us.
Right.
Is that it's a control thing.
Right.
It's it's easy for me to give. It's easy for me to give. It's easy for me to give. It's easy for me to give because I get a lot from doing that. But when someone wants to give it back to me, I struggle. Yeah. I struggle in the acceptance of that.
Why do you think? Why do we do that?
Because it's fucking vulnerable.
Accepting help, or maybe it feels like we're confirming that little voice, oh, you
can't
do it.
You really can't do it.
But in reality, we all do need help. I mean, we go to church all the time, and they always say, you can't do it by yourself. You can't. Mm-hmm.
You can't do it, and we're not expected to do it by ourselves. So I think that. And we've talked about this a million times, and what always comes up for me is that I give and I give and I give. And I know that I think what's happening for me now is that I'm coming to a place where I'm wanting to receive, and so I'm trying to open myself up to the receiving. But of course I'm right. I don't have the patience for it. And I'm like, okay, fuck, I want someone to do it now. Especially on a Wednesday when I'm by myself and the kids aren't. You know what I mean? Right. I want to control that too.
And I think it's also hard when we're parenting too, because I think now that you and I are in our 40s and we're starting to realize that, hey, we need to be taken care of too. Our kids are at that age where they're not always grateful.
Yes.
And you spend a lot of time arguing and getting frustrated, and then it circles around and you come back and you're like, oh, I'm a bad parent. Mm-hmm. I just went through this today. So Logan was supposed to clean his room and he didn't. And so he called me at work after calling Pete 3 times at work for the password. And he was just ungrateful, kind of just this expectation of, you're going to do this for me. And I just called him back and I was like, you're going to clean your room or you're grounded. I'm not arguing anymore. And I hung up the phone. But then I get off the phone, and even though I know I'm right, I'm like, oh, it's, I'm only going to have him for a few days this weekend, and then I'm not going to see him, and this is what he's going to remember when he's older, was that I grounded him for that, and he's going to resent me.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that's not true.
Right. I always think that, too. Because I struggled with the kids this week, and same thing where I'm like, oh, they're only going to look back and be like, my mom was a screaming nitty. like a screaming
right.
lunatic, like, you know, swearing and screaming.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's all they're, didn't make good dinners. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, like, all the stuff that you want, like, your kids to always be like, oh, my mom.
Yeah.
You know, it was, oh, your mom did this and my mom did that and stuff like that. You know, and I'm like, they're going to think I'm just a screaming lunatic.
Yeah.
That worked out all the time.
Yeah.
And then, but it's really cute because you were like, you know, but then I'm like thinking, I'm like, okay, we also just came off of the weekend of Cooper's birthday.
Yeah.
Like, Cooper had a birthday, like, he's like, you know, I mean, like, he's Jay-Z. I mean, he had, like, this, I mean, he's 8 years old, and he had like, he had an entourage. I mean, he had, like, the weekend celebration. Like, right. I was exhausted from his 8th birthday.
Right.
And like, you know, we did the aquarium, and we did birthday parties, and then we did, like, family parties, and we did, like, you know, I mean, he had a party on an island, like, you know what I mean, for an 8-year-old.
I mean, what do you remember from your parents? Like, I'm sure you got yelled at.
Oh my God. Not yelled at. I got like what did my mom use? She was, the Sperry boat shoe. Like, she was famous for the boat shoe. She was famous for, like, go into your room, wait for me, you're in big trouble, and I'm coming up with a boat shoe. And she'd smack the crap out of us with the boat shoe. Oh, yeah.
But that's not what you focus on.
No, I remember her apple pie.
You're like, kind of like...
I'm, like, obsessed with my mother.
Yeah.
Like, I think she's the best person in the entire world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she taught you that through respect.
Yeah.
And discipline, because at the end of the day... Yeah. Sorry, I'm burping. I drank that milkshake down like crazy.
It was so good.
Milkshake headache and then some gas. Ugh.
You're so attractive.
I know. And my calluses. It's a lot of hotness going on right now.
I told you this is what a mess.
Thank God. Thank God we're not being viewed right now.
No video chat for us.
No video. Just imagine us as like those sexy porn voices.
Oh, Jesus. All right, focus.
Refocus. What was I saying?
I don't even remember now.
Oh.
Something profound.
Yeah. Super profound.
Yeah, about remembering our moms, like thinking about remembering our moms
and stuff like that. But, like, you know, my mom, you know, yelled at me and had her crazy moments. Like, actually, I will never forget. I remember I didn't clean my room, and she had told me to clean my room all day, and I came home, and she was a mad woman. Like, she was opening up the window. The clothes were getting chucked out of my bedroom window, and she was, like, muttering to herself. Nobody else was listening, but she was doing her crazy voice. And she was like, you don't want to fucking clean your room? I'll fucking clean your room. And she's, like, throwing my shit all on the front lawn and everything. And as crazy as that was, like, I don't resent her for it. Like, she was right. And I respect her, and I love her, and today's actually her birthday.
I know.
And she did a really good job. Like, our job is not to be our kids' friends. Yeah. It's to teach them how to be good humans. I know. And the only way they can be good humans is if we give them accountability for their actions. I
think my hardest thing is that, you know, I know myself is that I lose my temper. And I know that, like, I tend to scream, and I know that they tend to not listen to that. And it's the most ineffective way for me to parent. I understand that. And I get pushed to the limits, and I do that. And my fear is that I see them then doing it. Like, I see them doing that behavior, and I'm always like, oh my God. Like, I'm not creating the home environment. Like, I just don't like the way my house feels when that is the energy that we're doing. Like, I try to, I mean, you sit here, my home is so cozy, and I try to, like, it's clean, and it's, like, homey, and I really love the way my home feels. But when we have that energy into it, it's always an energy thing. Yeah. Like, I feel like I'm out of control. And I don't like that.
You don't like the chaos.
And I don't like that. And as a single mom, it's hard because I don't have the ability to tap out. Like, I don't ever have the ability to have someone step in and be like, okay, you need to go in the corner for a little while. Like, I need to put myself in timeout, and I don't always have the ability to do that once I'm in that, like, zone. Like, once I'm seeing red, like, I can't get myself into the...
You can tap out. It's just recognizing when you need to tap out and how you're going to manage it.
Yeah.
And because you're right, you don't have someone here to help you right now, but there's a lot of women that are married that don't have that.
I know.
Don't have the help either, and they're still doing it by themselves, and men for that matter.
Yeah,
I mean, you have plenty of friends that are men that are raising kids, and they have to do it themselves. Yeah. And we have to learn how to control it. Mm-hmm. So one of my favorite lines that, like, when I was doing my anesthesia training, you know, like, whenever we had, like, someone with a difficult airway or something like that, and we, you know, tried a couple things, they would always revert back to this Albert Einstein quote of, you know, the definition of sanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again. So you
expecting a different result.
And expecting a different result. So that your flaw is that you lose your temper and you start screaming. So you have to make a plan, just like you get up every morning and set your alarm clock and go to the gym to set this good habit. You need to set a good habit for yourself.
I know.
And start doing it repeatedly every day with your kids.
Yeah.
And plan for the worst thing. Like, try to plan for a good day, but have a backup plan of, if they don't listen to me and they don't do this, I'm going to handle it this way. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to do this. And then when I start to lose it, I'm going to, retreat or whatever, or lock my room. Whatever works for you. But we're so good at setting good habits for our fitness and our nutrition.
I know. But
we actually need to set habits
for at home too. Yeah. And every other areas. Yeah. And of course I always say, like, I'm like the typical, I'm like, oh, when September comes, like, we're just in summer right now. And like, it's all a mess and stuff like that. But I'm like, what September comes, I'm so famous to do that. I'm like, once the new year starts, and, I'm always good about starting those new habits when it comes to like our home life. But, I don't always follow through on it.
You need to have I think if you have a plan written out of how you're going to handle it and keep it somewhere where you can see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, and summer definitely has gotten us a little wonky. I mean, for sure. I know that even my like behavior chart stuff and all the, because I'm really good with the charts, but we're not right now. Yeah. Clearly I'm like, mowing Twizzlers and eating ice cream. I think I've had ice cream almost every single night. It's like a free for all. Oh, what a mess.
Oh, what a mess.
Oh, what a mess. It's fun. And again, it's so funny because I think if we keep going back to like the stories we tell ourselves. Yeah. I think it always comes down to that. Whether we're talking about parenting, whether we're talking about relationships, whether we're talking about fitness, whether we're talking, there's always a story we're telling ourselves. Like I had even one of my like dear friends, she texted me today and she was like, she just had a kind of a rough day. And I asked her, I said, what's the story you're telling yourself about that situation? Yeah. What's the story you're telling yourself? Because if we go down to the root of like, what's the story we're telling ourselves? Right. It's always bullshit. Yeah. It's always bullshit. And it tells you a lot about yourself. Like, I know for me, when I'm like, if you had said, what's the story you're telling yourself? And I told you, I was like, it's that I'm not good enough.
And that's not true.
I know, but sometimes I really don't know if it's true. I sometimes I really question it.
I mean, I'm gonna brag on our podcast. Look what we're fucking doing. Like I know we're not famous YouTubers or anything like that, but like we said, well, let's do a podcast and let's do this, and we're doing it. Yeah, let's start 10. A business. We're fucking doing it.
We actually have gotten paid from our business now. We're very excited. We've gotten paid. Our business is up and running.
Yeah, we're doing it. I know. Which means you're doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Your kids are alive and well.
Yeah. Yep,
You've got a relationship going.
Yep, I got a
You've
great
got
career.
Amazing friends.
I do have amazing friends. Amazing friends. Yeah, but there's always want more. Like, this is where I am. Like, I always want more.
Yeah. So maybe maybe you need to set a habit of being present.
Yes, because the wanting more means that I'm also, too many things are up in the air and I'm not doing any of them really well.
I've got that same thing. My mom always calls it she calls me like the crazy waitress when I've got like 6 plates up in the air. Yes. And she's like, one of them's gonna fall. Yeah. She's like, you gotta let something go.
Or the whack-a-mole game. Remember that whack-a-mole game? Yeah. Where like one hedgehog pops up and you gotta hit that one. And they're like, because I feel that way. And I know for me, like if I'm feeling disconnected or like I'm failing in one area of my life, I feel that it's like I'm failing. Like I'm so dramatic. I'm like, I'm failing everywhere. I like blanket statement that's happening in every area of my life.
So actually, what I started doing a few weeks ago to set a habit, because you know how I like my lists.
Yes.
And I make the crazy lists, and when I don't cross everything off my list at the end of the day, I feel like I didn't accomplish anything. So I started narrowing it down to 3 things. So I focus on my physical part. So I always make sure to get my fitness in. My mental part, like whether it be the business, and I only do two things for each category, and then spiritual. Okay. So like tonight, my spiritual was like hanging out with you and recording and being present and doing this, and I worked on.
I think that dinner you brought me was spiritual.
Yeah.
So good.
This is spiritual. This is like, this is like like we have our nutrition business where people check in with us, but we check in with each other and we check in with the public by doing this podcast. Yeah. And, revealing that, we have some fucked up things going on. I mean,
we're just human. I think that's the thing about it too, is that, I have to always remember too is that like, yeah, and you remind me of this, and you're always so good about it too, being like, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be, and I know for me, like I'm practicing that in not just my relationship, but also in like really all areas of my life, and be authentic in my vulnerability, you know? And I think you and I were talking about like, even earlier today is that, my biggest struggle is that I really have this yin and yang fight in myself where I can be vulnerable and like to be vulnerable in certain areas, but then I also like to control then like how people can, did we talk about this already? Where people can come in and where I want people to come in and help me.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's interesting? I hope you don't mind me bringing this up. And I'm only going to bring it up because I know it's something that affected me. Like you and I share a similar personality trait with that yin and yang and the control. And I think it happens probably in a lot more people than we realize. And maybe by talking about it today, maybe someone will be like, oh my God, that's how I feel. But I mean, like I was anorexic, and I think part of that,
the control,
that control, and then having that fear of if I have a bite of a burger, I'm going to be off the wagon and not be able to get back in control. Yeah.
I fought with my eating disorder for so long too that I mean it's definitely it definitely it's a cycle that it's a shame cycle. I mean there's no doubt about it. There's a shame cycle.
I mean even now sometimes like when I eat, like yes, that milkshake was delicious, and I certainly will not feel as guilty about it as when I did when I was a teenager, because I'm more aware of the problem. Yeah. But I'll still think like, did you really deserve that? And like, how ridiculous! It's just a freaking milkshake.
It's a milkshake. It's
and
okay.
we split it, and tomorrow we're going to do this crazy workout, and it'll all be fine.
Fat games.
But that's just one of those things that same thought process can be applied in so many ways that, like, I don't know how many listeners we have, but even if we only do 2 more episodes of this and hang it up, it's still like it's still a success.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a really good point, because I think that I know for me, like whenever I'm feeling the way I'm feeling squirrely. I call it squirrely. I just feel squirrely in all areas of my life, and it's not like a PMS thing. And even though I like to blame it on a little PMS, but that's not really it. Like it's just like every once in a while I just get squirrely. Yeah. And it's funny how we talked about the old tapes, but I think sometimes we can also resort back to old like patterns of comfort. Mm-hmm. And sometimes those patterns of comfort are not healthy. Right. And mine can be anything. Mine can be attention from men. Mine can be shopping. Mine can be eating. I mean, there's so many things that on the outside can make me feel good. Yeah. Temporarily, very unhealthy. Yeah. Yep. But so I try really hard not to go those places. Yeah. And try to find a spiritual solution, And I know for me that I'm actually, as I say that out loud, I have maybe not been as connected as I needed to spiritually. Like I know I haven't been to church in the last couple of weeks just because I've been like life has gotten in the way. Yeah. I know if I'm not doing my daily like prayer and meditation practice, like there's things that again like on that checklist. Yeah. That if I'm consistent with it. Yeah. I'm pretty solid. Yeah.
So what about like if that is the thing that you feel like you've fallen off track, like maybe setting your alarm clock 15 minutes earlier.
Is that possible?
Put it across the room.
I'll be awake at like 3:15
to meditate or to like say a prayer or whatever, or even 5 minutes earlier. Yeah.
I have them on my phone. The good news is I do have like prayer reminders on my phone.
Oh really?
Yeah. So I have reminders that go off at 9:00 in the morning and then at noontime.
Oh cool.
Yeah, they just come up on my phone. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. So I do stand there in a minute and just kind of like say that because I'm usually in the office at 9 charting, and then I usually so those are the times I'm usually not on the floor with patients, so I can actually take a moment. And
it's kind of interesting how this whole conversation has evolved too, because I had a conversation with a girl at work tonight, and I actually invited her to go to church on Sunday because she was talking about how she's letting failures in a past relationship affect her current relationship, and she knows it, and she doesn't really want to open up and be vulnerable. And I asked her permission. I was like, I hope you don't think I'm being too forward about talking about Divas. I go, but it sounds like you probably need some faith in your life. Yeah. Because you don't need to be Catholic or whatever. It's more about just the message that Christ gave. And I'm sorry if anyone's offended by listening to me talk about Christ, but I do like his message because I think it's applicable to whoever you are. Like learning how to forgive yourself and forgive others for wrongdoings and move forward. Like that is like one of the most basic things
forgiveness,
we can do.
Well, and it has to start with ourselves. And it has to start with ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, it's not really. I always think of forgiveness. We're all over the place, but I always think of forgiveness too. And I think we've actually even talked about this on the podcast before. Is that it's really for ourselves. It's not for the other person.
Right.
It's for ourselves, so that we can not have that like rock inside our stomach.
Right.
Inside our soul that does not like let go.
Right.
Yeah.
And it feels good, and then you can move forward. I mean, who are the most amazing people? Like, we're always inspired by the people that had the biggest struggle growing up and then have overcome.
Yes.
And to some degree, they've forgiven themselves. They've forgiven themselves for their past life, and they've, instead of dwelling on it and living in misery, they've gotten up and dusted themselves off, and they started doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that they're all super successful, but they came back from failure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's all true. I mean, it's so funny you say that. So we were talking about our favorite, like, CrossFit athletes.
Yeah.
So CrossFit Games have started this week. And so, of course, I'm obsessively watching them. And I was watching the movie from last year's, and I actually watched it with the boys this weekend, and it was really fun to watch it with them. Because, I want them to be little CrossFit addicts like their mother. Or fitness. Anyway, fitness. I mean, even Lawson's like, Mom, I want to go back to me in the fall. I'm like, good. Because he's like, I want to be stronger. I'm like, yeah, you go, buddy. And there's a story about one of the girls, Cara Webb, and she has like just had failure. I mean, she's struggled. She's been a struggle. Like, she works her ass off. She comes to the games and she's had a struggle. She's always struggled. Like, something's happened. She's been injured. Like, something always happened in the games. And last year she got second. I think she got second last year. And so, like, now she's back again this year. And I'm like, I hope she does great.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, those are like, I love those stories. Like, those are my favorite stories, is where people are just like this, like, they struggle and they come back, and they struggle and they come back. And I know that for me, I always talk about like these big major struggles I've had in my life, and I always will say, whatever came on the other side of that was bigger and more beautiful than I could have ever imagined. Mm-hmm. So when I was in the middle of it, I was like, holy shit, how am I ever going to get through this?
Yeah.
And something bigger and better was always better on the other side.
Yeah.
Always on the other side. And that was a God thing. That was not me. That was faith. That was like perseverance. That was like just belief in something bigger than myself.
Yeah.
So my job is to remember that when I'm in this nitty gritty bullshit stuff that, like, makes me want to eat Twizzlers all day long.
So do you remember, I don't know if you listened to it, Steve Cantor sent us a podcast to listen to, and it's like a religious guy, and there was an episode called You Must Be Important, and it talked about how when you are going through the shittiest things in life and you're like feeling so alone, just to remember that God must think you're important. He must think you're special, because he thinks that you can handle this, and he's going to come and save you.
Yeah. I don't remember he listening to that one. Did he send that to us?
Yeah.
He sends us so many, I can't keep track. I'll have to listen
I'm
to
not
that
doing it any justice, but
the message, we get the message though. Yeah.
The people that struggle usually get
exactly what they need.
Exactly what they need after that storm.
Yeah. And again, it's always bigger than you think it's going to be. Mm-hmm. It's always better than you think it's going to be. I mean, like, again, when I lost my job, did I ever think that I get to do this career now? Like, I walked into a room today with a patient that I had worked on when I was a student at a clinic in Westerly, and I worked on her with her back, and I totally recognized her. And I walked in there, and she's like, "Oh my God, look at you!" She's like, "Did you pass your boards?" I'm like, "I did." Yeah. And she's like, "I can't believe it." And she's like, "You look so happy, and you're so adorable, and you're like," she just is like, she's like, "You look amazing." Yeah. And I'm like, I can't believe I get to do this. Like, every day I go to work, I'm like, I can't believe I get to do this. When I lost my job, that I'd been in a company for 20 years, I never, ever imagined that this was going to be what I get to do.
Yeah.
And I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Every single minute of it, I love it.
So, like, one door shut and the other one open.
Bigger than you can ever imagine.
Right. And I think, I really do believe that that's what you're going through now.
Yeah.
Like, and you have a great life, so let's not, like...
I know.
That's it, but this loneliness that you're feeling, something's coming. Something bigger is coming. I know it, and I know you know it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is.
And that's what I'm
and then you're going to look back and you're going to be like,
oh, that's what it was.
Oh my God,
that's
ridiculous.
I know. And it's hard because I don't want to tie it to something or someone or like what, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't ever want, I almost don't want the expectation to be tied to something someone. I guess is really what it is. I'm always like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to know that, like, whatever happens to me, I'm bringing, like, my best authentic self to the table.
Yeah.
Is really what it is.
Yeah.
You know? I think we all want that. And not put the expectations of my, you know, my worth and my value onto something or someone else.
Yeah.
That's the struggle. You know, is I still sometimes want to put, like, you know, oh, what you think of me.
Why do you care what I think?
Well, not just you, but anybody.
Yeah,
you know?
I know that, but, like, why?
Because I'm still the girl that doesn't get picked at, like, you know, at like kickball, you know. Even though I was always picked. You know, I was always picked.
I was gonna say, I find that hard to believe.
I did get picked at kickball, but you know what I'm saying. Like, you know, especially like if I always say about like relationships, like I said, sometimes, you know, obviously relationships has been something I've struggled in, and I always bring it down to like I'm still the girl who wants the boy to like her.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I'm still the girl who wants like her girlfriends to think she's cool. Like, you know what I mean. I mean, it's hard to like not change those things.
Yeah, no, I get it.
As corny as it sounds,
you actually just like made me think back to like my childhood when, and I usually don't like to bring up people's names, but I'm gonna bring up this bitch's name.
We'll pray for her later.
Robin Anderson.
Oh, that bitch.
Because it just made me think, because I was a heavy, fat kid, and I remember I tried out for the soccer team, and Robin Anderson was on the soccer team, and they were all wearing like their Umbros and
the
scrunchies, bras, and they were all super skinny.
Yeah.
And I remember they made me like run up and down the field, and I literally like I looked like I was dying, like I was like snorting and huffing like a brontosaurus trying to make it down the field. And I remember Robin Anderson got right in front of me, and she starts like pawing at the ground like a bull, then put her fingers up on her head, and she was like like making like these bull like horse sounds because of how I looked running back. And I still like what you were just saying about the girl who, you know, just wants to be liked by the boy. Like, I'm still like fucking Robin Anderson. I'm like,
what is she?
I just want other girls to like me.
What's that Robin Anderson up to now?
I think she's like working at Dunkin' Donuts. Not that Dunkin' Donuts is a bad thing to do, just in case any of our listeners work at Dunkin' Donuts, but my job's better than yours. So.
Oh my God. And you could squat way more than she could.
Yeah, when I went to her reunion, she was like out in the back smoking pot and not really doing much.
Yeah, see, there you go.
So.
Yeah. Screw you, Robin Anderson.
But that's that fear of, you know, not being good enough to other girls. That's an insecurity for me because I never had friends that were girls. So actually, like, I get insecure around you sometimes, and I get insecure about like our other friends and stuff because I'm like, do they still like me? Like, do they think I'm funny? You know?
Do they think I'm funny? They think you're funny.
So,
well, and the funny thing is that we now are in a place where we're like, we just love everybody for who they are. Like, I mean, now you're in a place like, you know, where, and it was funny because it's so easy for me to give advice to like my friends when they're like in pain or they're struggling. Like even my girlfriend tonight, I was talking to her on the phone we were texting, and I just texted her. I said, you know what? I said, your job right now, she was feeling like insecure about something. I said, is not to shrink. Like, it's our job not to shrink around anybody else. Like, we are allowed to be exactly who we are and accept each other for who we are. You know what I mean? With our quirkiness and our weirdness and be vulnerable, which, you know, again, I can say that really easily to everybody, but I can't always apply it to myself.
Yeah.
So I have been saying it to myself now and, like, being vulnerable. And, like, I remember even talking to the guy that I'm dating. I was talking to him last night, and I was like, I was sharing with him that I'm like, yeah, there's sometimes... You know, because we're newly dating. So, like, he's seen some pretty good sides of me, you know? And there's a side of me that, like, I'm a dragon. Yeah. And there's times where I just want to tell everyone to go, like, fuck off. And I want to, like, you know, and my reaction to any situation that's happening, like, whenever I'm feeling like this, is so disproportionate to to any situation. So my reaction is super emotional, and the situations usually have nothing to do with any of it. And I have learned over the years to just be very quiet in these times. And just not really respond and just be quiet. And he was like, oh, that's good to know. He's like, I didn't know you had that side of you. I'm like, oh yeah, it's there.
Our friend Stephanie, she wanted to make a t-shirt that said, I'm sorry if my reaction was disproportionate to the situation.
Yes, I'm sorry for yes. I feel like my reaction is disproportionate to the situation, definitely on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. My ex-husband was actually really good about that. He would always look at me and be like, because I'd be spinning around like the Tasmanian devil, and he'd be like, what does this really have to do with? And I'd be like, I don't know. Nothing with what we're talking about right now. He'd be like, all right, crazy. You know, so, I mean, it's, you know, we all have those sides.
Yeah. I think we all have that feeling of, you know, losing control, and then you look back and you're like, oh, I probably could have handled that a little bit differently.
Yeah, that's why I've learned to be quiet. And it was so funny because Bethany, you know, she and I usually are each other's like kind of guideposts through those situations. And so I'll text her. I'll be like, "This is what I'm feeling. This is what I want to say." And she's like, "This is when you say nothing." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, say nothing." She's like, "If you feel like saying something tomorrow, you can say something tomorrow." So it's like, you know, sometimes you just have to put those pauses into it, which I've learned to do really well. Yeah. Like, so that if I want to respond emotionally, which again is disproportionate to any situation, I will recognize it. Like now I'm in a place where I can recognize that, and I'll be like, "Okay, Bethany, this is what happened. This is what I want to say," or I'll say to you, "This is what I want to say." You know, we have to have our buffers. Yeah. So that like we're not spazzing out on everybody around, because that's not helpful for anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think,
especially in relationships, because I'm always like, he has no idea that I'd be even feeling the way I am. So, like, if it's important, then I can say it in a way that's actually like kind and loving, and not be like a complete psychopath.
So I wonder if maybe all this loneliness that you've been feeling is because, you know, you reach out your hand to other people to help them, but you don't always reach out to ask for help.
No,
and
I don't.
Maybe you need to make that a goal of yours, like to just ask for help and be vulnerable.
That makes me want to throw up.
I certainly ask you for help.
I know. You're good. That makes me want to throw up. Like, I'm actually having a physical response right now.
Really?
To, like, even that idea.
See?
I'm like sweating. And I'm like having boob sweat right now.
See, I know that's the cure then.
Oh, fuck.
You have to ask for help.
All right.
Yeah. That's it. That's the solution.
I'm going to write it down right now. Ask for help. It really, that causes a physical response.
Yeah.
It does.
That doesn't mean you're weak.
I know.
Because remember, we were talking earlier, the smartest people are the ones that know what their limitations are.
I know. I'm getting better at it.
Yeah.
My mom brought me dinner last night.
Yeah. And didn't it feel good?
It was great.
Yeah.
Yep, it was great. She brought Thai. We sat on the couch. We watched the CrossFit games.
Yeah.
It was great.
I brought you milkshake.
You brought me milkshakes and French fries today. So I'm getting better.
Yeah.
I'm getting better. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
But and ask for help with the kids, or ask for help with, I don't know, getting gas or whatever. Like anything.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I've certainly called you in my moments of like, my eyes are puffy and my nose, I'm snotting everywhere and crying and
but that's different. I mean, that's
but that is help.
That's I feel like I feel like I'm good. I'm good with that. And it's hard because I've been so like strong, and I can do this, and I've got this, and I can handle this. Like that mantra has been around for a long time. I mean, even like when I read that story about my brother, is that when he was sick, like I stepped up.
Yeah.
I stepped up. Like, I was the kid in the family that, like, when we all did, but my older sisters were not around, and two were in college, and, and I was, newly in college, so it wasn't, like, a major thing for me to, like, be able to, like, help with my family, and, and my dad could take your gallbladder out, but he couldn't make his own peanut butter and jelly sandwich, so I had to, like, be home and take care of him, and, I just went into, like, I just did it. Like, I talked to people in town. Like, I just went into mode where I'm like, I just did it.
And that's a great thing, but it also sucks the life out of you.
It does suck the life out of me, yeah. Yeah.
You need to put, like, your shield that Sue told you to put up.
Oh, yeah, that golden shield.
Your golden shield.
Yeah.
And ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah, and take better care.
And like you said, because you've always given me the prayer when I feel overwhelmed of, God, I can't handle this on my own. Well, it's no different for you.
I know.
Like, it's okay to not be able to handle shit. Like, we're not meant to take it all. We're not meant to do it by ourselves.
I know. I tell you that all the time.
Yeah.
I tell you that all the time.
Well, that's why I'm here. I'm here to check and give you your own freaking advice.
Shit back. All right.
See, we're so smart.
We are profound. Messy. Oh, what a mess.
Oh, what a mess.
Oh, what a
all
mess.
you have to do is ask for help.
So what's your to-do go away with? I have a to-do list. What is yours? I have a big list on my phone.
Oh, my to-do list is I have to simplify my life. I need to be more present with, like, my friends and family. Cutting actual time out for them. Because I tend to get focused in what needs to be done in the future.
Yeah.
And I tend to lose track of what's going on right in front of me.
Okay. Presence.
Yeah.
Presence and asking for help.
Yep.
Those are our takeaways.
Yeah. And I need to not eat burgers and milkshakes.
Yeah, but we had veggie burgers.
Yeah, that was good.
They were actually vegan
and
burgers.
actually, it was like my one cheat meal this week. I'm allowed to cheat meal.
I didn't even eat the whole thing. I had one whole half left.
Oh, I ate the whole thing. That was freaking delicious.
Good. I'm gonna eat it for work tomorrow. The vegetables. So, do you want to end on this quote that I did? What do you think? Do we have it to go for? I mean, our ending for our podcast. All right. So I found this online today, which I thought was really great, and we're gonna pray that this is exactly where we get to. So it says, one day it just clicks. You realize what's important and what isn't. You learn to care less about what other people think of you and more about what you think of yourself. You realize how far you've come, and you remember when you thought things were such a mess that you would never recover, and you smile. You smile because you are truly proud of yourself and the person you fought to become.